Welcome to NHL Quick Hits. I'm David Crosby here with Steele Roden, and we're going to look at the North Division midway through the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Let's start with the heated rivalry between Toronto and Montreal. Two big stories out of Game 1, where John Tavares unfortunately will be sidelined for at least 2 weeks with a knee injury and a concussion after taking Corey Perry's knee to the head in an inadvertent accident. And of course, Toronto's Game 2 win to knot the series at 1 apiece after that devastating Game 1 loss. The big question in my mind here, Steele, is whether the Leafs have the depth to overcome John Tavares' injury. And do you think they should still be favored in this series without him?
Well, first and foremost, I just want to say how happy I am Tavares is back home and, getting better, and he's okay right now, and he's getting the best treatment from doctors right now, because I was really shook after that collision. I couldn't believe what I had just witnessed 10 minutes into the game. Captain goes down, and it was just so scary to actually watch, and, how he was actually physically moving around the ice. So I'm really happy that he's back home and he's feeling a lot better now. Obviously, he's still hurt, but, just kudos for him for being okay right now, because that was really scary to hit. But, yeah, I think they do have the depth. I do believe the Toronto Maple Leafs have the depth to win this series and should still be favored in this series. I would have liked to see Alex Galchenyuk starting in the lineup in Game 1. I thought going up against his former team, he would have had a lot of fire and a lot of buzz to bring to the table. But I really loved Pierre Engvall in Game 2 last night. Like, I've not really been a big fan of him, but he played a really solid game last night. Even though he didn't record a point, he was physical on the forecheck. He was hitting players left, right, and center. That Shea Weber penalty, he caused it. He went in, hit him, and then Shea Weber got a cross-checking penalty, and they ended up scoring on that power play. So I love Pierre Engvall's energy last night. I think Alex Galchenyuk should have been in the lineup in Game 1. He was noticeable at times in Game 2, but I think they do have the depth to keep going. They brought Pierre Engvall in for Riley Nash. They switched them out. So if something happens, you can keep, flexing your lines a little bit and switching things up. But I think they have the depth. And as much as it's sad to see Tavares out of the lineup, I think they have the skill, they have the numbers, and they have the goaltending right now.
Yeah, it was great to see Austin Matthews there in the post game after Game 2, dedicating that win to John Tavares. So hopefully he can come back fully healthy if the Leafs advance to the second round. Now, that's no sure thing right now, though, because the Canadiens, they had a really great Game 1. And all things considered, heading back to Montreal with a split from Toronto 1-1, that's a win for Montreal. I don't care, what you thought of Game 2 and how they looked. I think they'd have been happy with a 1-1 split no matter what, heading back to home ice. Now, the one thing I didn't like, I couldn't help but shake my head seeing Cole Caulfield watching last night's game from the press box. 4 goals and 5 points in his first 10 NHL games. And the Canadiens, they certainly could have used him on Saturday night. Now, on the other end, Toronto was sloppy in Game 1, but they were decisive and playing with pace in Game 2. I thought that made a huge difference for them. What's jumped out to you most in this series, and what do you think will be a big factor going forward?
Well, I think the physicality in this series has been really outstanding for me. And I think every team's game plan against the Maple Leafs is just be physical. No matter what team they're going up against, they know that the Maple Leafs have a lot of skill and don't really tend to use their body as much as other teams around the league. So I think that's always been any series game plan against the Leafs. But I just love the physicality from the skilled players. Matthews was leading the Maple Leafs in Game 1. He had 5 hits. Hyman had 4. Marner and guys like Spezza and Wayne Simmons had 3 as well in Game 1. So just the physicality from all the players, not just the veteran and physical guys like you would expect, like Nick Foligno, Wayne Simmons, but Matthews finally jumping in and using his size and his strength to his advantage and getting in and, crushing guys against the board. So I really like the physicality so far. They were out hit in Game 1. They were out hit a little bit in Game 2, but it's still the distance in it now is just getting smaller and smaller. And I love the physicality from all of the players so far in this series. And a team like Montreal, they have big bodies like Josh Anderson, Tyler Toffoli, Jeff Petrie, Edmonton, especially their defensive core. So you have to bring the physicality every single game.
Let's move over now to the battle of the Connors. That Connor Hellebuyck is unquestionably winning right now. Connor McDavid was held pointless in each of Edmonton's first 2 games. That's just the second time this entire season he's been held off the score sheet in 2 straight. What are the Jets doing so well right now? And do you think McDavid will break through before it's too late for the Oilers?
Well, I think they're just containing him to the T. And we've talked about this, and this is what I said in the preview episode. They need to do their best at clogging the neutral zone and making sure that they have continuous pressure on both McDavid and Draisaitl. You can't let them gain any speed. And even when he does gain speed and he gets those opportunities, which the Jets have, minimized really so well in the first 2 games, guess who's there to save the puck? Connor Hellebuyck. He's been absolutely incredible. So I think Paul Maurice and all of the Jets players have executed their plan to perfection so far. And when things have gone wrong and they get those opportunities, Hellebuyck has just been there to make the save and make the incredible save and keep the team in the series, because both games have been really close. They scored 2 empty netter goals in game 1, and then it went to overtime in game 2. And I think a little bit of the Paul Stastny goal was a little bit of a muffin. I think Mike Smith maybe was a little bit blinded and screened from his own players. But if McDavid and Draisaitl don't get going in game 3, the series is over for them. And it's just going to continue to streak another early playoff exit from the Edmonton Oilers. And like I said, if he doesn't get buzzing for game 3, it's just not going to be the Edmonton Oilers year again. And Connor McDavid is just going to be continued to get frustrated from his team's effort.
I mean, Hellebuyck has certainly been that number 1 guy who stole the spotlight. He's been absolutely amazing. But the Jets as a whole have played that first pair of games to perfection. 5 different goal scorers, just 2 players logged more than 22 minutes a game. I didn't check every team, but I'm going to guess right now that no other team had their ice time spread out that much between all 4 lines. Not a single player over 25 minutes a game. They took just 5 penalties in those 2, no power play goals against. And get this, as a team per 60 minutes, the Jets have the most hits with 58, second most blocks with 20, and 5th most takeaways with a little more than 8. This is a really balanced Jets team that is playing superb defense right now and dominating a top-heavy Oilers squad. Did we all underestimate the Jets this much?
Well, I can't speak for everyone else, but I can speak for myself and say I didn't underestimate the Jets in this series. I did pick the Oilers to win in Game 7, so I had it going the distance. But I had the Oilers winning for 2 reasons and 2 reasons alone, and that's McDavid and Draisaitl. I really believed that those 2 guys could be enough to carry the Edmonton Oilers out of the first round and into the second round. But still saying that, the Winnipeg Jets have the better goaltending. Both Connor Hellebuyck and Laurent Brossoit are better than Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen, in my opinion. I just think that tandem's a lot better. Connor Hellebuyck was a top 3 goaltender this season with Phil Grubauer and Marc-Andre Fleury. So I think they're winning in the goaltending department overall in their forward core and up and down the lineup in their depth charts. I think Winnipeg is overall more talented and more skilled, even though the Oilers have McDavid and Draisaitl. And then on the blue line, I think it's very even and very neutral. So the Jets are a really well-rounded team, but I just believe that McDavid and Draisaitl were the best players in the NHL this season and have been for the last couple of seasons, and were good enough and great enough to carry this team out of the first round. But it looks like they're going to carry them out of the first round and into the offseason.
Yeah, both Winnipeg and Montreal look a lot better than many people gave them credit for coming into these 2 series. And I think both of these matchups are only going to get better. If the NHL was hoping that these would be 2 quick series thanks to that late start in the North Division, I don't think they're going to get their wish, because both of these series seem destined to go 6 or 7 games. But that's going to do it for today's episode. On behalf of Steel Road, I'm David Crosby, and thanks for tuning in to NHL Quick Hits.